welcome to today's show. I'm Jacqueline Stockwell, CEO and founder at Leadership Through Data. I inspire and motivate information leaders across the world. And I'm really, really excited today to have Claire Boyle with us on the podcast. So welcome, Claire. Can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell me a bit about you and some background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been working in the archives, records management, information governance world for about 13 years now, which is absolutely terrifying because I swear it was just 2009. So I'm not entirely sure how this has happened, but here we are. So I've been doing a few different roles over the years, but basically I started in archives as a history undergraduate and found records management, information governance completely by accident along the way. And I've never left. I absolutely love it. I really enjoy coming into the chaos and being able to make some sort of order and sense out of it. So yeah, it speaks to my soul as an organised person. So I did my MLit in archives and records management from the University of Dundee, where I now tutor one of the records management modules. I am an accredited member of the ILMS, and I'm currently a group information management lead at SSE, which is an energy company for those that don't know it. So I am responsible for developing best practice, standards and guidance for all of the different businesses that fall under the SSE umbrella and kind of supporting them to meet their goals.
Beautiful.
So yeah, potted history of Claire.
Amazing. And then tell me what you do in your spare time.
What do I do in my spare time? Not very much. I read a lot. I am a voracious reader. I will go through a book a day left to my own devices, and I have a Labrador which gets me out and about quite a lot. She is not content to sit inside, so I spend a lot of my time out walking about, catering to her every demand and need.
Oh, beautiful. They're always good for the soul, aren't they? And walking's really good exercise for us. So brilliant. So today we'll kind of chat about how because the way you described your job role, you have to do a lot of influence and selling back to the business. Can you describe the challenges that you face in influencing different teams within your organisation to standardise practices across them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so definitely the biggest challenge that I face at SSE is just the sheer scale of the organisation. It's by far the biggest organisation I've ever worked for before. There's about 10,000 staff and 8 different, we call them business units, but they're essentially 8 different businesses that kind of sit under the same umbrella. They've all got their own goals, their own priorities, their own ways of working. So even to get to the point where I can start influencing the right people is a challenge because I need to find them. I need to work out kind of who they are. Even once I've found them, every business unit is different in terms of the way they work, the technology they use, the maturity levels of information management. So even once I've found those people, it's essentially like learning a whole new business each time. Yeah, I essentially work for 8 businesses all at the same time. So yeah, it is challenging. And a lot of the sort of business practices and stuff, the organisation's been going for over 30 years, I think. So there's a lot of sort of organic business processes that have been in place for a long time. So kind of trying to introduce that change as well can sometimes be quite challenging. And as well as that, I was going to use the word authority, but the word authority isn't quite right. I don't have the ability to kind of go in and say, you must do it this way. Mm-hmm. What I've got to do is go in and kind of say, we're suggesting doing it this way. Here's all the reasons why you should come on board, to kind of promote everyone traveling in the same direction. And so it's selling, it's kind of promoting, advocating, convincing people that this is the best way to do it. So yeah, all of those things combined make for a very, very challenging environment.
And how do you convince and influence?
That's a good question. I think my sort of biggest strategy, my favourite strategy, is to make sure people know who I am, to make myself known to the organisation. Because if I want people to engage with me meaningfully in any sort of way, they have to know my face, they have to know my name, they also have to understand what I do. And it's much easier to explain that to somebody when you've got a sort of personal connection with them. You're not just some random person that works somewhere in the organisation that you never speak to that has come along to tell you you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I think getting getting yourself out there, and being friendly and approachable and helpful. And it sounds really simple, but I think, and you've probably come across this yourself, information governance people, particularly where data protection and information security are involved, we're seen as the bad guys, the people that are going to tell you no, that are going to come in and say you've got to change everything about the way you work. You're doing it wrong. You're not doing it right. We're going to turn your life upside down. And I think it can be really easy to just kind of accept that that's what your reputation is and deal with it. But that's why I think being that sort of almost too friendly, that sort of come and talk to me, I'm here to help, I will bend over backwards to make your life easier, that sort of approach, it seems to work for me. I mean, people definitely don't like it when I come and tell them they have to do new things, but it's a lot less than it would be if I was just kind of not bothered about making those sort of personal connections, I think.
Yeah, and it's the same as a sale. You know, you have to be known, liked, trusted before somebody buys from you. And that's kind of the same concept that you're describing. They have to know you, they have to like you, then they have to trust you. So they trust you in the stuff that you're saying and giving them the guidance to be able to kind of take that extended further forward. And it's interesting because when you use the term sale or selling, because I've always used that, you know, I've had some feedback that it's a more commercial term, but actually in terms of information management, it is, you're selling the benefits of the service back to the business, and you can use the same process techniques as any sales cycle to do that. So I think it's really nice that the way you've articulated that and just put it into a framework. Thank you. How do you find, so I want to talk about your professional development now. So what are the biggest obstacles for you encountering in finding time for your personal development?
Definitely finding the time. Well, actually, no, it's not finding the time, it's making the time. The time is there. I have it. I'm just really bad at not using it. I'll block it out in my calendar. I'll put 2 hours in on a Friday and I'll say, this is what I'm going to do. And then Friday comes and I'm like, oh, well, I've got all these things that I need to finish from earlier in the week. So I'll move it to the afternoon, and then it gets moved to Monday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday. And before I know it, 4 weeks have gone by and I haven't watched that webinar that I said I was going to watch. So I think it's trying to stick with what I say I'm going to do. And also remembering, and this is what usually gets me to say, right, no, you've pushed it enough times, you're gonna put the time aside, is remembering that actually keeping up to date and keeping invested in my personal development, my skills, my knowledge, that's part of my job. Because if I don't keep up with what's going on, especially when it comes to technology, because I am not a technological person, my brain does not work that way. So I do have to make an effort to learn about whether it's the newest M365 development, whether it's an AI, whether it's a new supplier that's got something fancy, whatever it is. I need to make the effort, remembering that if I don't do that, then I'm not going to be as good at my job. I'm not a fan of that. I like to be good at what I do.
There's a really good book called Atomic Habits that talks about you do something in like 2 minutes. Have you read it?
I've read excerpts from it. I haven't read the whole thing, but the number of times it's been recommended to me is huge.
Yeah, and it's the simple steps. So one of those steps is that you put the time in your calendar. The next thing is just to commit to it. And once you kind of get into that habit of committing to it, because I think it's great that you've got it in your calendar, but it's having that commitment to do that for yourself for the reasons you've just described. Because it does help you grow. It does make you a better person from all the professional development you can do, free, paid, all those things. And having that time invested in yourself is so important. So you can be kind of proactive rather than reactive, because a lot of us in information management can be more reactive, can't we, than proactive.
I think part of it as well is getting your manager on board as well, and making sure that they're aware that it is part of your job, and to kind of give you that support and time to put things aside. So yeah, there's definitely an element of selling yourself to your manager as well.
Yeah, and how I'm gonna tease in on that one, Claire. How do you do that? How do you sell yourself to your manager?
So I am very lucky in that my manager and most, if not all, managers that I've had have been very supportive, and my manager at SSE is very keen on personal and professional development and kind of taking the time. So I don't really need to sell myself. If I had to, I'd put the focus on what's the organisation getting out of it. Like if they're gonna invest in me, whether that's time, money, whatever, what are they going to get out of it, rather than what am I going to get out of it. Kind of ideally, if you can find something specific, like a specific work that you know you've got coming up, what will those skills, knowledge, whatever it is that you're going to learn from this thing, how will that help that specific bit of work? But I'm very lucky. My manager, she will probably listen to this as well.
Hey, great.
But that's
great.
not why I'm saying it. That's not why I'm saying it. But yeah, no, she is very supportive. So I'm lucky in that regard. Yeah.
And that definitely helps. And for those that don't have that, there's the same sort of manager relationship. It's definitely focus on the problems, solutions, the outcomes, which is the benefits. So benefits, in one of the sales books from Alison Edgar, she says benefits. Yeah, facts tell, benefits sell, which is one of the good sayings. So something to think about for you.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's very good. So I want to talk about archives now. So can you elaborate on, for the people that are new to information management, if you could just explain in principle what an archive is, what records are, for anyone new listening. And then I want you to explain the disconnect between the two, in your professional opinion.
Yes, 100%. I love talking about archives and records management as a pair. Yes. So the way I see it is archives is the historical stuff, the stuff that no longer has current business value, but is still valuable, whether that's for people studying genealogy, whether it's for people studying history, whether it's stuff to do with law, like precedents and things. There's all sorts of stuff in archives. Archives are a wealth of wonderful treasures. And I think my biggest draw to archives, so I'm going to go off on a tangent here. My biggest draw to archives is definitely what it can tell us about what society used to be like. And I think especially in current sort of global political climates, I think it's really important to remember things like that. So, yeah, archives are super important. But that's what they are. They're the historical stuff that we keep that we don't need for business value anymore, but we don't want to get rid of. And records management is the current stuff. What are we using today? What do we need today to fulfill our legal business obligations, whatever it might be? So when you're learning about archives and records management, you learn about them together. So my degree is in both. It's in archives and records management. But when you get out there into the world of work, you often find, and not all the time, because I know there are people out there that are wearing both hats and desperately trying to do both jobs, but they're often very separate. You've got your archives department over here, which will have some sort of link to heritage or something like that. And then you've got business sort of records management over here that's very much linked to the business side of things. And that baffles me. In the 13 years I've been doing this, I've not worked for a single organisation where the two have been together and, quite honest, probably don't speak to each other at all, if regularly. And I just don't understand that, because one of our roles as information managers is to make sure that information is available to those that need it when they need it. And that might be your chief executive today who needs to know X, Y, Z about your performance, but it also might be a researcher 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 100 years down the line, that wants to know what energy was like in 2025. So I think our role as custodians or people that are responsible for information today, we need to be cognizant that it's going to be relevant later on. And so we've got to work together. It makes sense to work with the people that are going to be looking after them when they no longer have business value. Because if we can make sure that they've got what they need now, then it makes their life easier. It makes sure that they get what they need. Things are being taken care of. So yeah, to separate them and to have an organisation where you've got an archivist, because I know not everyone does, but you've got an archivist and you've got a records manager and they don't talk to each other. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't understand it. So yeah, I'm a huge proponent of working with your archivist if you have one.
I think it's that you can kind of simply relate that to records and IT as well, can't you? So there's some disconnect between IT and information management as well. And
but we need each other. So
100%. So to kind of bring them all together. If you're a silo records manager, make sure you reach out to your archives team as well, get to know them. So thank you. So how do you ensure that important records are preserved and transferred to archives?
Yes, so again, talk to your archivist. I think one of the big things that I think that they should be involved in, if you're not already speaking to them, if you're not already collaborating with them, caveat if you have one, obviously not everyone does, but get them involved in retention scheduling, because fundamentally that's what your retention schedule is. It's setting out what records you have and how long you need to keep them for and when you get rid of them. But getting rid of them doesn't necessarily just mean putting them in the bin. It could mean transferring them to permanent preservation for whatever reason. So it makes sense to work together on that, because they can tell you what they need, what's their collection policy, what are they interested in gathering, what do they want to have a picture of, and then you can set it out. I think especially now that everything's digital, you can do that before records even come into being, before they're even created. If you're developing or updating or reviewing any sort of records management system, again, get them involved, because you're going to have to transfer out of that system into an archive at some point. Whether it's paper or digital, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to give it to them. So again, get them involved, because they can tell you what they need. They can tell you what software they use, what digital archiving or paper, doesn't need to be digital, but they can tell you what their requirements are. So you can make sure that it's not a case of getting to the end of a record's life and being, oh, well, we really need this stuff, but where does it go? Who do we give it to? How do we get it there? So yeah, it really is that collaboration, I think. And it goes the same way as well if you're an archivist. Go and speak to your records manager, go and find your information governance person, and join those dots and make those connections. And if you are in information governance and you don't have an archive and you don't have an archivist, advocate for one. Go get one. Go convince people that you need one.
With the selling techniques that she told you earlier, or a couple of the books. So that's brilliant. So all of that there's a lot there. Us within our roles, there's a lot of change, isn't there, with some of the, moving parts that you described. How do you manage change, and what can you recommend to people listening how they can manage change?
I manage change quite differently now to how I used to. I was involved a few years ago now in a migration from file shares to SharePoint, and my attitude to that change was very rigid. It was very, well, no, this is the change we're making and this is why we're making it, so deal with it, essentially. And that did not work. Surprise, surprise. People were not best pleased. I remember having we'd done the pilot and we had our first sit down with the people that had been involved in the pilot to get feedback, and it was the worst 45 minutes of my career. It was horrible. I felt like I was being personally attacked. And I wasn't. It was very much the fact that we'd kind of gone in and just gone, this is what you're doing. Of course we got the pushback and stuff, but that experience taught me so much about change. What the change is significantly less important than the fact that there is change, if that makes sense. So it could be something really tiny, like you're already using SharePoint. We now want you to add one piece of metadata every time you save a document. To us, as information governance people, that's tiny. But to the person that you're telling to do that, that could be completely turning how they work upside down. And I think you've got to remember that. You've got to keep in mind that it might seem small to you, but it could be huge to someone else. So be flexible, tailor your approach. One size does not fit all. You can't just kind of storm in and say, this is the way it's going to be. You've got to work as a team. It's got to be a collaboration with your staff.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan now of the phrase, do it with them, not to them. Because I used to be a do it to them, and now I'm a do it with them. So yeah, that would be my sort of advice. Be flexible.
Fabulous.
Don't put your foot down. It's not going to work.
Fabulous. And I would always say change management is a people process.
Yeah.
It's a people-based process. And it's about effectively managing the people through that process.
Yeah.
And there's some really good books. I don't know if you've heard of it, Edward de Bono, The Six Thinking Hats. It's kind of a way that you can shorten meetings. So you can have change meetings and shorten them by having different perspectives of thinking, because everyone thinks differently. That is in my book, Claire. There's a section on that in my book as well.
I haven't quite got there yet.
You're all good.
Yeah, it was a good read so far. I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, if you're listening and you don't have it already, go and get it, because I can tell now that it is going to become a staple beside my desk.
Nice. Love it. It's called Blooming Good Information Management, and I'll make sure the link's in the head notes. Thank you so much, Claire. It's been amazing for your time today. It's been sensational, and thank you very, very much.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. An absolute pleasure.
Amazing.
Thank you for listening to the Journals of the Information Entrepreneur with me, Jacqueline Stockwell. I hope you found this episode inspiring and helpful and have some takeaway tips that can be useful to you. If you liked this episode, please like, review and share it with your friends. Your support helps us reach more information leaders to stay inspired and listen to great content. Want to test out your strengths and weaknesses and measure it against our Empower framework? Please complete the scorecard. It's a great way to improve and evaluate your skills. You can find the scorecard at the end of the description of this podcast. Stay tuned for a new podcast every Thursday, and remember to be bold, be brave and be beautiful.